Robin here from Pop Spectrum. Now, who here remembers that fateful day when Disney, our future overlords eventually, decided to purchase the entertainment rights to Marvel?
It was no surprise to us all that they'd want their hands on a wholesome franchise filled with numerous lovable characters. To their dismay, two other studios had their own rights to two of the biggest names in comics and movies, Spider-Man and the X-Men. Eventually, Disney got their hands on good old Spidey, but like hell, Fox was going to give up their X-Men.
If the day ever were to come where Fox decides to sell the X-Men to Disney, at least they could take this movie and tell Disney straight up, like hell you can top this.
Logan takes place during the aftermath of an accidental mutant genocide and a genetic rewriting that ended up killing the mutant gene. With barely any mutants left on the planet and adamantium slowly poisoning him, Logan has been reduced to an old chauffeur doing everything he can to care for a mentally ill and now senile Charles Xavier, with the help of another mutant named Caliban. While trying to do his job, he is confronted by a nurse named Gabriella who wants to hire Logan to escort her and her quote-unquote daughter Laura to North Dakota. At the same time, however, a secret agent named Donald Pierce wants Logan to lure the little girl back to him. Although he doesn't want to get involved, Gabriella offers Logan thousands of dollars just to get them to their destination, to which Logan finally accepts the money, hoping he can use the revenue for a better future. Naturally, everything doesn't really go according to plan, so now Logan is forced into a life-or-death situation protecting Charles and this mysterious little girl who Charles believes to be a new mutant.
First of all, I kind of want to know how many angry letters Fox is going to get with this movie. Deadpool was one thing because, like, mommy wanted to take little Jimmy to go see Deadpool because he loves Deadpool to death. Ha. But they got so many freaking angry emails because the R rating and just how violent and gory and sexual it was. But with the history that follows Wolverine, with the previous X-Men movies, it makes you wonder how many more angry letters Fox is going to get because this is supposed to be a child-friendly character. I'm just kind of curious. And speaking of Deadpool, Australia, why didn't we get that teaser trailer in theaters? Everybody else, probably just America, who knows in Europe, got that preview of Deadpool. How come Australia was left out? That wasn't fair.
Crying over the man in red was one thing, but numerous kids love Wolverine and want to see him in an awesome movie only to see him at his goriest. And on that topic, the action is really intense. Logan and the young girl Laura were ruthless with their skills, and it was amazing to watch. None of these shots seem out of place, as it demonstrates how intense each scenario is, while demonstrating just how desperate Logan was throughout the entire movie. Like I have stated before, the action was intense, so this is definitely not something little kids can handle. The story was basic enough as we watch Logan contemplate risking his own life and security towards a mission that seems impossible to face. The enemy is overwhelming and a bit too strong for old man Logan to face. Not to mention we know that Logan has practically lost everything he ever cared for in the past, so he's trying everything he can just to hold on to whatever he has left, while facing an illness that's causing his healing powers to deteriorate. Why would he risk everything for a little girl he doesn't even know? Well, with how ruthless the enemy is and how Charles begs Logan to save her, Logan is practically forced into a situation he wanted nothing to do with, which makes this simple story a bit more compelling.
However, when certain elements appeared and came into play, it made the entire story really predictable. Oh, what's that thing? What does it do? Huh, I think it's gonna be used for... And I was right. 'Cause I be smart.
So yeah, the story gets really predictable, but that doesn't necessarily make the movie bad, especially when the main focus was more on the characters and their relationships. You watch these characters with a long history of fighting and suffering that you just want them to find their sanctuary and be happy for once. Let Logan succeed so he and Xavier can buy the boat and sail the high seas in peace, but we all know this won't be that kind of movie. It is dark, cruel, and sad, which truly brings this X-Men series to the ultimate conclusion. To carry out this dark story, let's take a look at the characters. Hugh Jackman returns one last time as Logan. For his last movie, playing one of his best known characters, he really delivers his best performance. Logan starts off like an old veteran, just trying to keep whatever is left of his life together. He works to raise money and save enough so he can buy a boat and live out his days in peace with Charles and Caliban.
Even though Caliban is an albino who will easily burn up in the sun. It's not the best choice for him, Logan. Then again, I wonder if you even care. You're only in this for Xavier, not Caliban, it's obvious.
Watching him struggle with his situation while being forced on a mission that he wanted nothing to do with in the first place, I really believe Hugh Jackman acted his very best for this movie. Kinda wish the movie was released closer to December, because this could have been easy Oscar bait in my opinion. Returning as Charles Xavier, we have Patrick Stewart. The once dignified headmaster of the X-Men has been reduced down to a senile old man constantly battling to maintain his composure. This was a heartbreaking performance to witness, as we remember this man as a strong individual who could control his powers, but now has to rely on Logan to make sure he doesn't lose control over his powers and cause everyone in the area to die. He's also facing against Alzheimer's, so as we're seeing him struggling for answers from Logan, we realize why he doesn't have the heart to tell him, and it's devastating. This once dignified leader is now just a shell of his former self, and Patrick Stewart performed perfectly for this very sad role. The main focus of the journey was protecting a little girl named Laura, portrayed by Daphne Keane. What we know from Laura, without spoiling too much, is that she lived in a very sheltered life. All she remembers ever since she was born was her life inside of an institute constantly being experimented on. She has no social skills, no manners, and has no grasp over how the real world works. She sees something she likes, she's going to take it. She wants something to work, she'll act aggressive till she gets what she wants. When threatened, she will act wild and beastly to defend herself by any means necessary. With those characteristics in mind, I believe Daphne Keane nailed her character perfectly. She was deadly, but sympathetic at the same time, so kudos to Daphne's performance.
Caliban was performed by Stephen Merchant, and though sometimes throughout the movie I couldn't get over the whole young Uncle Fester thing, I still think Stephen did a really good job with his character.
Caliban suffered most of his life in the shadows and had at one point served the enemy in order to have a comfortable living, but now risks his life doing what he thinks is right. He helps Charles and Logan when they were desperate for help, and even as he's being used to track them down while the enemy is chasing them, he still finds a way to give his friends the advantage. Even with Logan pushing him away sometimes, and with all of the pain he has endured, he still comes through as a kind-hearted soul, just trying to do what is right, and with that, I believe Stephen did a good job with his character. Every new movie, the villains become more diabolical. In this case, we have the Reavers and Transigen trying to hunt down the little girl and killing those who get in their way. Compared to the other movies, these have to be the darkest villains we've come across in any X-Men film. They use inhuman methods to get what they want while convinced it's for the greater good of mankind. I don't want to spoil too much over what they do in the movie, but it's just fascinating to watch how diabolical they can be while coming off as men of science. The head scientist behind Transigen is Xander Rice, played by Richard E. Grant. This man is a heartless scientist who will find any excuse to justify his means. Sure, he's pretty much responsible for the lack of mutants being born, but at least he can justify his methods, right? Thus we get a cold-blooded character bent on controlling everything by his terms, to which he comes off as a callous man. Richard E. Grant had to do his best to portray such a cruel character, to which I think he did a really good job. And the leader of the Reavers, who serves Transigen, is Donald Pierce, played by Boyd Holbrook. This guy was pretty fun to watch. He was determined to get the job done, but he acted so sadistic and hammy that he just enjoyed killing, and having that power of authority to do what he wanted. He tries to charm Logan over while also intimidating him, and you could tell the history between him and Laura just by how angry she was just looking at him. Our heroes just want to be free and not fight anymore, but like hell he gives a damn about what they want. Torture Caliban in the sunlight for information? Yep. Assisting Xander in unleashing an unspeakable monster responsible for killing innocent people while capturing small children? Yep. All part of the job, and he's going to do whatever he can to finish it. For a sadistic baddie like him, I say Boyd Holbrook did a good job acting this character.
Now there is one other element introduced in the movie, and that involves the CGI with Hugh Jackman in some scenes. Without spoiling too much on the details as to why they had to put CGI on Hugh Jackman, I think this is like the most convincing CGI I've seen. You know, for the whole like facial construction, making it look seamless with CGI technology. That stuff. The stuff Rogue One wishes it had!
CGI has come a long way ever since Tron Legacy, so I had to say I was impressed with how they rendered this character's face. That, and I'm sure the animators are having a really good laugh looking at how bad Tarkin was in Rogue One. Seriously, Disney? What are you doing over there?
If this is to be the final X-Men movie to come out of Fox, I'd say they did one hell of a good job.
The action is intense, the characters are done very well, and even though the story is very simple and predictable, at least they did a good job making it as dark and as sad as possible, while leaving an open yet hopeful ending for some of the characters.
With that said, Pop Spectrum gives the movie Logan 4 pops out of 5. The elements that came into play made the story a little too predictable, but I still love this movie. This has been Robin from Pop Spectrum, and this movie made me cry. Thanks for watching.